Coming to you from the all-new Live House in Hollywood, California.
Welcome to this week's episode of Pensado's Place. Our guest went from his bedroom to the top of Billboard and now is looking at the boardroom. An amazing story. You'll meet him in just a second. Make sure you sign up for our newsletter. All you cool folks, please hit like and subscribe. Click notify as well. And let's get right to our guy. Literally took a shot in his bedroom, discovered an artist that he's grown with, and now the hits keep coming, and he is doing some amazing stuff. Please welcome to the desk the one, the only, Mick Schultz. Hey, man.
Hey, man. Thank you.
Well,
Mick,
sure.
what's up? Dave.
You know, what an illustrious history. What I find fascinating about doing research on you is I like your embrace of things that, of texture and things that some people may think are mistakes, but you see them as character. Has that been part of the Mick Schultz philosophy?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think music's not supposed to be perfect.
Thank God. Thank
and
God.
A lot of times I've found that the mistakes that I've done or accidentally done something turned out to be something magical.
Yeah.
So I always try to look for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times, we've said this a lot, but how many times people to our left who are great at what they do say that, you know, you have to not freak out over the mistake. Sometimes you have to look. That in context may be the hook. It may be the magic. It may be. And when did that start? Because you're classically trained, right?
Yeah, I had classical lessons as a kid in high school, and piano was my first instrument. And then I started making beats and kind of getting into production at the same time as a teenager. And then a good friend of mine put me onto Pro Tools because I had a Triton. My dad got it for me for my birthday. It was like the best gift ever. Absolutely. And I was just making beats in that Triton in the sequencer. And then a friend of mine told me, you need Pro Tools. Like you need to like be able to track this stuff out and like put vocals. So Pro Tools really opened up my mind to how flexible you can be with music, how you can make mistakes, and that opened up like a whole another world for me.
Amazing.
I said, he got a Triton console when he was like from his dad?
The Triton keyboard.
I know. That's what threw me off. I know the Triton keyboard real well, but I just zoned. Sorry, guys.
Oh, that's all right. When you compose, do you compose principally from keyboard? Is that still...
Well, now it's anything. I mean, guitar. It depends on who I'm working with and what I'm doing. So I do.
Are you self-taught on all these things, all these different instruments?
Yeah, I'm self-taught. Yeah,
nice.
I'm self-taught.
Nice.
Everything in Pro Tools though, so that's like my base.
Gotcha.
So it could be from recording guitar into Pro Tools and then getting a vocal idea and then doing production, or just starting a track with samples or something like that. So there's not really one way that I do it or another, that's the inspiration there. So I'm always just switching it up.
Do you tend to try and start from a melody, from a sound, from a drum beat or something?
For me, it's always the sound. Like I notice myself, I'm always searching for something that's going to inspire me with the sound. Because you can play melody on the piano, it's going to invoke one motion. And you can play that same melody with a different sound, and you have a whole nother beat. So I'm always kind of like chasing the sound design and having tools at my hands that'll bring new fresh ideas.
When I listen to your stuff, I'm sorry. When I listen to your stuff, back in the day, there was a producer named Phil Spector. He had the wall of sound. And there's something about what you do that is generationally feels, or it sounds to me like that, particularly in your choruses. Particularly in your choruses. Something will happen in your choruses, and between what you do with vocals and textures and build for intensity and so on and so forth, there's always this sort of force that comes through. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I love dynamics, and I love trying to make a record. I like it to feel full without using a lot of instruments.
Yeah.
So playing with reverbs and delays and synth drones and just stuff that'll make you feel like it's a wall of sound, but it's not too busy.
And I love that I got that right.
That's a great question. I'm sitting there going, why did I think of that? On speaking of a massive, this is just a question for me on Desperado, Rihanna. What the hell is that bass sound? That bass is like thunderous.
So there's several basses in there. There's a Moog Voyager. There's Omnisphere bass, and then a live bass as well, all together, which is really the backbone. And you know,
you use Omnisphere a lot.
I've used Omnisphere since like 2010. Yeah, I've used it a lot.
But that live thing gives it that analog.
The live bass is.
I'm not sure the poor little live bass is cutting through all of that. It's thunderous. It's
the live bass is playing a little bit of rhythm that the synth is not. So, but yeah, it's a couple layered together.
But it's the texture component of all that is kind of your goal. Would you say that's your signature?
Always just texture and sound and just trying to make things feel new and fresh. You know, I'm always just chasing. I love when you hear a record and, you know, it's like whether it's a piano or something sounds just a little different, unique to that song.
What's interesting for our audience, for that component of our audience that's in the bedroom, that's where you started, right? You and Jeremiah, and something was going on magically there. Tell us how that came about and what that turned into for you.
It was literally in a bedroom, that bedroom right there. We were in Chicago. I was going to Columbia College, and so was Jeremiah. And, you know, it was just one of those things where the chemistry was just right. He inspired me. I inspired him. A lot of people, when they find out, they'll say, Mick, you produced Jeremiah's like first and second album. Like, so you like developed him. And I say a lot of times we developed each other because we were just figuring stuff out.
Yeah.
I was 18. I knew some stuff, but not that much. And I was just going off of a vibe, and we just had great chemistry together.
It seems like that concept of growing with an artist in today's world, it seems like a really viable. We hear that so often, you know, Ali and Kendrick. I mean, that kind of thing where you attach early to a talented person.
Definitely.
And you rise with them. For you guys at home, I would try to do that. It seems like it's working very well. How often do we hear that, you know, here?
I mean, well, I think what you do is you hear the success stories. You don't hear the failures.
Right.
So I think proportionally, I just think as a device to underscore both your points, you should do that anyways. Because you're going to develop your chops, you're going to develop how to work with an artist, you're going to develop certain skills that you need, both hard and soft skills. I hope everyone's goes to the level of Jeremiah or Kendrick. But if not, as a way to move forward, I think, particularly when you're young, particularly when you take chances.
And I think when you're working with one artist, you get comfortable, you get to know them, they get to know you, so you can really bring out the best in them.
And you can experiment. You can fail without having consequence and so on and so forth. And that becomes
did you have an inkling that Jeremiah was going to do really well?
I did.
Okay.
I did. Everything just felt so good. And whenever we would play something for someone, I could just see their reaction. And although I had nothing to compare to, I just felt it. You know, I had that feeling, and it worked. So,
did you help further the record to where it became commercial success? Were you involved past the production?
Before Birthday Sex came out, I was just helping Jeremiah with whatever photo shoots. I remember MySpace; those are the MySpace days. Like helping just like run that page and kind of do whatever I could to support, because, you know, we were on our own independent. Once Birthday Sex came out, it was such a rocket ship. Our manager at the time, Lewis, he had strong radio relationships and was able to get the song played on Power 92 in Chicago.
That's helpful.
That was very helpful. I remember it was near Halloween. The song played like twice. At, I think it was like the 5 o'clock mix show, which was like the prime time.
Right.
And once that played, the song just, it went viral. I put together like a little, which I think it might still be on YouTube, a little video with like images for each word of the song. And I just remember watching that video just go crazy.
You were doing lyric videos.
Yeah, it was like a lyric video with images.
Yeah.
What was that song autobiographical?
Which song? Birthday Sex? Should be.
It is now for everybody else.
He's blushing.
So is his wife, who's in the audience.
So we had one song out before, but Birthday Sex just went viral. And from there, we were like doing club shows in Chicago and, you know, promoting it kind of on our own. But the song had so much life. We weren't spending money to like do ads. It was completely organic. Yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
How did that song start?
Well, the creative was Jeremih had the concept, and he came to me. He always would have all these ideas for songs. And remember him coming to me with this title like "Birthday Sex." I was like, never heard of it. That's amazing. Like everyone who doesn't want that, you know, whatever. And he and his friend and one of my very close friends, Keith James, wrote that song. We did it in my bedroom on the Triton, the first, on the Triton keyboard I was telling you guys about.
Did you give Dad credit?
I should. Yeah, there it is. It happened quick, like a couple days, writing the song. Yeah. The rest of it was kind of like a blur, and it was one amongst many records that we did in that over that summer. And
boom, here you are.
Yep.
What was the other big record on that, big song on that record? There was two.
I'm a Star was pretty big on that record as well.
Yeah.
Birthday Sex was just like an era. It was kind of, it was hard for anything to kind of outshine that in its moment.
What precipitated, at some point in time, you're now in Chicago, you do, your time at Columbia, you're there for 5 years, it starts to get hot. What precipitated the move to LA? Was it opportunity? Was it momentum?
Yeah, I think just, the first couple years from Birthday Sex and then following that to doing Jeremih's second album, I was working on exclusively Jeremih. And we had a huge song called Down on Me after that, which in ways felt even bigger.
In some ways. Did you do the beat on that, by the way?
The beat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit is crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I think just like, I wasn't meeting people in Chicago and I had success, but there's a huge part of the industry where there's the relationships and getting involved and showing your face and
everything.
I hadn't even been in a real major studio, even after Down on Me. Like I was working, which was fine. I was working out of my bedroom and doing all that, but I needed to get involved some way. Yeah. And so LA, that was
being in the flow. It's hard not to be in the flow.
I just needed to get out here and throw myself at something.
And I think the reason I bring it up is that, one of the things that's important for the audience to understand is you have to be ready for opportunity when it comes,
Definitely.
And then you have to take it. Like you can't sit and watch it go by. You have to, sometimes that's a move, sometimes it's not, but nonetheless, it's always being as ready as you can be. So there's the musical part of being ready, which you were done. And then there's sort of the psychological part of what you're doing. Do you consider yourself as a producer, do you have a specialty in terms of your production? Is it vocals? Is it just the whole thing? Is it artist development? Because it strikes me you have an artist development bone as well, too.
Well, I think I connect with artists really well. Like, really, it's a personal thing. Know who they are and what they're trying to do and what are they trying to say and what are their influences, all that type of thing. I feel like is a strong suit. I hate to say I do it all, but I love being involved in the whole part of the record because it's all creative for me. Engineering is creative, cutting the vocals, editing the vocals, comping the vocals. It's all just so important. So I've always worked on it and I work on that every day. That's just part of producing for me.
Punctuate that whole paragraph with a description of how it related to your relationship with Kelly Clarkson.
So the Kelly stuff was really amazing for me. It was one of the first camps that I actually did. I went to Nashville to work on that project. Kelly was there to meet and hang out. She's just like one of the most incredible down-to-earth people. And then actually right there, Harlow, who I write with a lot, we did some records for Kelly. And I ended up flying back down to vocal produce the record and record her, which she doesn't need much real guidance. She's incredible. But I came down. I'm sure they could have had any vocal producer do it. That could have been, whatever. But I was so close to the record. So I have something in my head that I want to do. So it's important for me to go down there and actually cut the vocals myself.
Absolutely.
So that was kind of like, that was that process.
I think you might be slightly underselling yourself too. They wouldn't have you come down unless,
sure, of course,
unless you really do it. And one of the things that I think feels like a through line in what you're doing is your ability to create trust with artists. That sort of chemical, innate thing.
Yeah.
Where somebody feels comfortable with not only giving themselves to you creatively, but allowing you to do what you do with it.
Yeah.
You know, that not everybody has that gift. You know,
of course. Yeah. I mean, trust is a big thing, I think, for sure. And you don't normally find that in one day when you meet somebody. So I think that's why I'm always like pushing to develop that relationship, because that's when I see like the real magic comes.
Yeah.
One of the things that I get asked a lot is I've written 8 million songs. How do I get them to the people that want to record them? What advice would you give that person?
There's definitely not one way, but I think the strongest thing is networking and having those relationships, because you never know whether it's a writer that might know an A&R or an A&R that has a new artist that you might fit with. Yep. There's so many different angles, but that's, why I moved to LA, because I had all this music. I had a huge, a couple big hits, but I wasn't getting records. I wasn't getting songs cut, and I couldn't figure that out. So
are you going places to meet people, or are you?
Yeah,
you meet one person in like the old commercial,
right?
You got 2 people.
I mean, it's a combination of. It could be if you work with an artist and they happen to be performing somewhere. Go out and show love. You meet people who are in the audience that are also working on it. Just kind of like getting involved. It might, parties might not be your thing. They're not mine, but it's part of building relationships, making friends, and you'll find doors open up that way.
And are you more comfortable applying your vision to the process, or finishing the vision that the artist had, the new vision that they had on your song? You know what I'm saying? It's like there's two visions. Yeah. Her vision of your song and your vision. How do you?
It's kind of a combination, and it also just depends on how involved the artist is. Sometimes the artist is not that involved, and they're the vessel. They're the entertainer. They're going to make it come to life with the voice. And there's other times where the artist has like mood boards and a cultural thing, and it's heavily. So I kind of like I just weigh it from one project to another.
Has what boards?
Like mood boards, imagery or what they're wanting to do, or
where they
inspiration.
Like plan it out like a movie would be.
Sometimes, yes, yeah.
With those, I was like call it mood boards.
Yeah, like a mood board, or so. Everyone has a little bit of an ego. Like I like to put myself into the record, but I try to find what the right approach is to make the best song. That's what it's about.
Is it hard for you to let go because it's your baby?
It's all yes. And that's another. I love being involved in the whole process because of my attention to detail, and it's hard to let go. Right. But I'm always open for someone coming in or whatever the case may be to get it, to where it needs to be.
Are you more open if it's Rihanna than if it's a new artist? Does your degree of openness change?
Well, of course, if you know what the artist has done or what they're capable of, those can, affect your decisions and stuff. But
as it should.
You got to take chances. You just do.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, the batter's box says I'm going to name 10 artists of different levels, and he's going to tell me which one he'd dump to come here or which one he would dump us to go there.
And then we'll edit that. Gotcha. I've figured that as well.
Okay, now that I've changed the whole course of this thing, your sample packs. The Splice one's amazing.
Thank you.
Really good. Are those sounds actual? Have they been used in your records, or are they new sounds, or?
Most of the Paragon sounds are new sounds. It was the drum kit thing is a real hot thing, and Splice is like a big thing right now. Yeah. And I've for many years thought in my head I should put something out there, because I've always done sound design. I love recording stuff and manipulating things, and so I got linked up with Splice this past year, and it was just like the right timing to put it out. But it's kind of like another creative vessel for me, just to inspire other people. Because I know for me, searching for something new, like literally hearing a kick drum that just has a weird texture can spark a whole record for me.
Anything on the horizon? Another sample pack?
I have another sample pack coming next month on October 7th.
What's different about it?
It's just like the brother or sister to the one that just came out. Just like more the same weird. My goal is to put stuff in there that you're gonna say, I've never heard that sound.
So it's more than just drums, the new one.
The new one has loops in it, but it's all, there's no melodic stuff. It's vocal. The vocals have some melodic element to it, the tonal stuff, but it's all drums, percussive stuff that you can program, throw in a sampler and just go.
Broaden out the perspective that we're talking about now, because I find that it's important for creative people who've had some success to not only follow their creative instinct, but also to build out potentially their brand and other things. So whether it's sample packs, you have a new JV and so on and so forth. Is that part of building the Mick Schultz business?
I don't look at it that way, actually, but it is. It's all, I get lost in the creative world, and you know, I spend a lot of time focusing on the songs, but the Paragon samples for me was something that I felt like was a piece of me I wasn't sharing with everybody. And not only to satisfy myself, but just to open up a whole another world for me to express. And the JV thing as well with Atlantic and with Craig is something that just, I feel like was naturally going to happen at some point. It was organic. A lot of my career, the success has been like diving deep with an artist and developing them. So
it's definitely part of your DNA.
It's just, it's just kind of like part of my thing.
As a manager, I can tell.
Yeah, so that's what's exciting about the JV for me. It's not just, this is another business avenue. This is a way to take what I'm doing to a whole nother level. And bring new artists in and give more opportunities and all that kind of stuff.
You know, I think it's fabulous. What are your weaknesses? What do you think what do other people do better that you either collaborate with or something and cover up, or do you not have any?
Oh, of course. I mean,
I just want to see where you're going. We've had plenty of guests who go, I don't have any weaknesses.
I mean, I can wake up and feel insecure about any one thing that I do. I was telling Dave earlier, like, waking up and being creative, sometimes it feels like it's a new job every day. Like, even though I've been doing it my whole life, I can go in the studio with an artist and feel like this is my first time.
Yeah, right.
But I've just learned to just not like hold back and just be me, throw myself in it. And if it doesn't click, it doesn't click. It's not a failure. Like, usually I learn something from it at the end of the day. So, I don't know what the weakness may be, but I'm a student, so I'm always just trying to.
But I think that's a really important point, in that staying a student is part of fomenting success.
Yeah, I live by that.
You have to be curious, you have to be hungry, you have to get information in always, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
It feels like you're kind of intimating that your weakness might be the business side of business.
It could be.
As opposed to the creative side.
Yes.
Because you've got a twin brother here.
Yes. Business is not, it's not a passion of mine. It's not something I think about. So I find like it can take a back seat at times. Even the Paragon kit, I had those samples a year and a half before they even came out, which I think I could have pushed them through and probably been a year ahead or whatever you want to call it at this point. But I'm always just like focusing on the music and whatever comes. For me, everything's came from the music. Even back to Jeremih, like, we defied the odds. We put a song out and didn't put any money behind it, and it went #1. So I just kind of live by make great music, and the business all kind of like aligns itself.
When you're coming up, and even now, what kind of music do you like? What informs you? Do you have a really broad taste?
I definitely have broad taste. I've always, I grew up on Motown stuff.
Oh, okay.
Production-wise, Timbaland, when I was a teenager, up even now, but just he made me say, I want to make beats, I want to produce, like I want to do.
Nobody has a feel like Timbaland's feel.
The feel, the sound selection.
Yeah, he was.
He made me want to make pop records that had soul and really kind of like push that.
I'm waiting on that.
Stevie Wonder was a massive influence when I got into piano, even listening to like Brian McKnight. I saw him in concert as a kid in St. Louis. I don't know, but just his musicianship and his playing, that was when I was learning piano. And that just, massive influence. Crazy.
Crazy. I could tell you stories that would blow your mind. Just his ability to facilitate things without necessarily even put a lot of study, which is such a natural.
He walked in. I'll tell one story. We were working on a song called "Crazy," and he walks in to hear the mix, and he goes, "I'm gonna recut it." I'm like, okay. So I set up a mic. That's what you heard. No tea, no lemon, no.
Yeah. There was a lot of
nothing.
A lot of the demos turned into records.
He just. I've never seen anything like him.
We used to put pseudonyms on some of the musicians because they were actually him. So we'd come up with a name for the guitar player. We'd come up with a name for the keyboard player. We'd come up with a name. It was, that's
I swear he learned guitar in about a month.
But I think the telling point about that is you model yourself as somebody that has, kind of a jack of all trades type person, because it helps with attention to detail. It helps get your vision out. It helps you incorporate the artist's vision. And we're always telling people that hybrid component of being open and being able to work with other people and incorporate other skills. I think it's a necessary thing for survival in today's music business and for success.
Definitely.
Because it's easy to take the tools and then be today's version of something that's already existed, when what you really want to do is stand out against the clutter. Yep. Right? Is that fair to say?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the other part is apparently you were a St. Louis Cardinals fan as a baseball aficionado. Baseball is the motif in which we have batter's box. So you get to come to the table here and just swing away. All right, you ready?
Sure.
Here we go.
Background vocals.
Wide.
Harmonies.
4-part.
Ooh. Key. Song key.
Minor.
Virtual synths.
New ones.
Wrong answer. It's Omnisphere. Kick.
Punchy.
Snare.
Transient designer.
Guitars.
Live.
Genre.
Blend.
Reverb.
Spring.
Ooh. What's the cheapest piece of gear you've used on a major song?
I wish I had a lot of cheap gear still. Probably the Swollen Pickle Way Huge guitar pedal.
Oh,
I use that all the time for fuzz.
I got one. I have one to follow up on that. How long have you watched Pensado's Place?
I feel like my whole life.
Okay, good answer.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like these episodes are my whole life.
But I learn from them. I watch them religiously.
Oh,
so.
good.
You know what?
Good.
Herb and I do too. It's the philosophical things, the humanitarian things,
the creative things,
the technical things.
It's a two-way information exchange.
It's made me a better person all the way around.
Yeah, and it's fascinating that whatever it has meant for you, which we certainly appreciate, it's the same back. Like we get it back. It's not whatever we're giving, which is, we're happy to do. And I should say this too. It also relates to the team that we have, their care, we actually, Tyler Scott is behind the wheel driving for the first time. Good job, Tyler. Good job. What's the future hold, man?
Just more music.
Yeah.
Keeping my head in the music and in the studio and working, with a lot with Craig Kalman now. And
say hello to Craig. That's one of my guys I really
Craig's
admire.
really made me a better producer. Like he always gives feedback that
Craig gives great notes.
Yeah. Great notes.
And has for years.
Usually I don't look forward to notes, but with him I do.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, good. It's a good house to be in. It certainly feels like it fits where you are creatively.
Definitely.
It feels the right kind of house. Man, what a pleasure.
For sure.
Thank you. It was an honor to be here.
No. It's an honor that you would grace us. I think it's also, I think for me, and as you get ready to wrap it up, it's also exciting for me to feel like music is in the hands of people who would approach it like you, because you have you're generational, but you have a sort of an old school. There's an analog base to your digital sort of way of thinking. Are you a super tech guy?
Yeah, I'm a tech guy. Yeah,
I figured.
for sure.
Too curious not to.
Yeah, of course.
What are your go-tos? You got any go-to plugins? Any?
I mean,
Probably a ton of stuff.
I have so much stuff. I mean, I use Contact 5 for samples religiously. Neve preamp, CL1B on my vocals always. And I'm always just into, like, I think you asked virtual instruments, I said new ones, because I'm always just looking at the new technology and what is it doing and just trying to see how things are working. It's fascinating. It's endless, so.
Best to you. I know it's going to be fun. Dave, take us home.
Mick and I were talking in the lounge earlier before we started the show, and we were talking about the importance of mastering one piece of gear, one plug-in, one piece of outboard gear, as opposed to having a lot to choose from. Sometimes it's good to narrow down. And by the way, I'm being a hypocrite saying this because I'm feeling a need myself to kind of scale down the amount of equipment I look at when I'm trying to create something. And chime in here with me, because that was a very important part with you with your Triton. I mean, you mastered that thing, and then when you got more keyboards, it's not like every keyboard made you the same amount better.
They're exciting, but I think when you really can master something, you realize there's endless possibilities of what you can do with it.
Yeah, just to get a little weird with you, Vincent van Gogh said, if you want to master many things, first master one thing. And in mastering that one thing, you've simultaneously mastered everything. I think that's something for us all to take a look at with our gear and our equipment. We live in a wonderful time.
Was that before the ear or after?
Yeah. By the way, we were just in France where he kind of hung out. But this is the best time ever to be making records. We got so much great equipment, and I want it all, and I'm gonna try to use it all as good as I can. We'll see you next week.